Former Charlotte City Councilwoman Tijuana Brown is going to have to wait to learn her fate after she took a plea deal in her wire fraud case. Action 9 attorney Jason Stujanki was there in federal court today as Brown pleaded guilty.
Tijuana Brown pleaded guilty to wire fraud conspiracy. She may get probation instead of prison time. Prosecutors here told Judge Kiesler they're not opposed to that. Tijuana Brown came to court passing the cameras but not making eye contact. Assistant U.S. attorneys say she lied on loan applications for COVID relief funds. More specifically, Small Business Administration ones, including PPP money. Remember, that was designed to protect jobs, among other things. Investigators say Brown tricked the government out of more than $40,000 and even spent $15,000 of it on a 50th birthday party for herself, one in which she celebrated by taking a horse-drawn carriage to the Harvey Gantt Center and posing for pictures on a throne. She served time in federal prison decades ago, also on fraud-related charges, and was the first former felon elected to Charlotte City Council. Fast forward to now. Technically, Brown faces up to 20 years behind bars.
My mom sat on the couch. She watched WSOC TV run the story.
But as she indicated in this recent Facebook Live, which, by the way, is unusual for a defendant awaiting a plea hearing, she expects probation.
Whoever thought I was going to prison is stupid.
Likewise, prosecutors told the judge the plea agreement mentions probation and that they're okay with that.
Yeah, so Tijuana Brown, former councilwoman in Charlotte, took money from the government, PPP loans and small business administration loans, meant to help protect against employer wages, operation costs, things of that nature during that time, during the time of, everything that was happening. And, this is what our people do when they are able to get into a position of power. Sad to say, some people are able to come out and be reformed from, being convicted and stuff like that. And kudos to her for working herself into a position of power to, where she was able to be a councilwoman after serving time. But, just revert back to the norms when you have the knowledge of how to do certain things. And of course she's going to be, arrogant and a little cocky because she already knows that a part of the plea agreement that she signed was so she could get probation, even though she's facing 20 years in prison, So, again, kudos to her, for, like I said, becoming a councilwoman after serving, a lot of time in prison for fraud. But, you just kind of reverted back to the norm, and you just kind of keep the stereotype alive, of once we get into these type of positions, instead of us doing the right things, man, we're going to, do the undercut thing. We're going to, try to do something and then throw some dirt over it to, try to cover our tracks and stuff like that. But this also goes to show that even though, the PPP thing, people feel like, oh, well, we got away with it, or, it was free money. They're still, actively investigating it, and they're still looking at people who got these loans and received this money, but didn't necessarily, really need the money. And of course, it was like a glitch because, you could have easily signed up for this, had all the paperwork together, whether it was real or falsified, and applied and, received money. But, once they go through the numbers and analyze everything on the back end, that's where a lot of people are getting caught up in this whole thing, But I've done stories on other, people that wasn't in council positions and in seat positions for, different places. And it's just, starting to come out. And I feel like it's going to continue for a little while because for one, it takes a little while for, them to, bring charges among them. A lot of stuff people want to keep quiet. especially when you have stuff like this where it's like plea deals. So I just feel like this was something that the news found out about, and they were able to of course do a story on it. But yeah, she'll more than likely get probation. She's more than likely not going to serve any more time, and she knows that, you know.
The government would also seek to recover the 40-some thousand dollars. The judge.
They'll more than likely not get that money back. But them having a plea deal and having it on record that she's guilty of doing this is, they see that as a win. But they'll more than likely never ever see that money
Judge
back.
has the final say on any plea deal. I didn't hear him set a date for sentencing yet. In Uptown, Jason Stujanki, Channel 9, Eyewitness News.
And yeah, she's not locked up or anything, and I doubt that she'll serve any time for this. You know, maybe she took a little piece of that money and invested it or did something that was able to multiply that money so that she can pay them back. But she'll more than likely just kind of defer that stuff as long as she can. And it's like, she's a former councilwoman now, so it'd be interesting to see, if she has like her own business or, what other ways she would go about being employed. Because once you have something like this, that's, turned into like local news, as I would say, because, it's not national news. I'm not seeing CNN or Fox News or anybody else talk about this, but, you know, you more than likely have to relocate and like start over. And if you don't relocate, hopefully you got like some solid investments or a solid plan to get yourself to a position to where you're earning. But it's gonna be hard for her to like run for council again or do anything else that's like remotely close to working for a government, because the trust isn't gonna be there. And even though a lot of it isn't built on trust. This is kind of like a two strike thing. The first strike was when you first was serving, and now you defrauded the government, and it's just like if they give you power for a third time, who's to say you won't do it again, type of thing. But yeah, I pretty much say she got away with it, honestly. She doesn't have to serve any time and only have probation. I mean, she literally got away with it. But I just wanted to bring this story because people think the whole PPP loan thing is over, and if you're thinking about, if you don't have a small business and you're not struggling and you're thinking about doing, stuff, you know, with these programs that are built to help you, um, you gotta think about it. Make sure you're doing it on the right way, on the up and up. Go to the SBA and get some advice, and just make sure you're doing the legit thing and not necessarily just trying to cash out, because it can come back on you. And man, who wants to spend 20 years in prison over some dollars? Man, you can always get some money, that's for sure. But I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this one up. If you like my content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. This is Justin Paul. Peace.